She laughed and said, "It's kind of cute how you get jealous when I spend time with my ex. Maybe you're just not boyfriend material." I didn't argue. By the next day, all her belongings were boxed up and ready to go. My name is Ethan, I am 29, and I work in IT support for a mid-sized hospital. I live in a rented 2-bedroom apartment outside Columbus, and my weeks are pretty routine: early shifts, gym after work, groceries on Sunday. My girlfriend is Maya. She is 27, and we have been together a little over a year. She moved into my place 4 months ago, and we split bills, not perfectly evenly, but close enough that it felt like a real shared life. Maya is the kind of person who can be charming for 10 minutes, and then turn sharp the moment she is bored. She talks fast, jokes at people's expense, and acts like anyone who reacts is the problem. I am not new to blunt women, and I do not need someone soft. But with her, it always felt like she was testing how much she could get away with. The biggest ongoing issue is her ex, Ryan. They dated for 3 years and broke up a little before she met me. She swears they are better as friends. I did not love it, but I told myself I could handle an adult friendship if it stayed respectful. It did not stay respectful. At first it was random coffee runs, then it became whole evenings. She would mention it like an afterthought, while putting on mascara, like she was announcing she was going to the mailbox. If I asked questions, she would roll her eyes and say I was doing the insecure thing again. 2 nights ago she came home late, smelling like the bar down the street, and dropped her phone on the counter face down. I asked how her night was. She said fun. Ryan was in a better mood than usual. That phrasing hit me wrong, like I was hearing about a boyfriend, not an ex. I told her I was not comfortable with her spending one-on-one time with him this often, especially at night, especially drinking. I said I was not trying to control her. I was asking for boundaries that made sense if we were serious. She laughed, leaned on the doorway like I was a coworker telling a bad joke, and said it was kind of cute how I get jealous when she spends time with her ex. Then she said maybe I was just not boyfriend material. I did not argue. I went quiet, because something in me clicked into place. When she said that, I did not feel angry. I felt finished. Not finished with the conversation. Finished with the equation I had been trying to solve for months. Up until that moment, I had been approaching this like a problem I could fix with better communication. I asked for clearer plans. I suggested group settings instead of one-on-one drinks. I offered to meet Ryan so it would not feel like some shadow presence in my relationship. Every suggestion was treated like I was applying for permission to exist in my own apartment. Her comment about not being boyfriend material was not just an insult. It was positioning. She was framing my discomfort as weakness and herself as the evaluator. I do not compete for my own relationship. She went to shower, still smirking like she had scored a point. I cleaned the kitchen in silence. I replayed the last 4 months since she moved in. The times she stayed out late without telling me. The way she would say Ryan knows me better than anyone, even when I was sitting right there. The way she compared how he handled things versus how I did. If this were reversed, if I was drinking alone with my ex weekly and telling Maya she was cute for feeling weird about it, I know exactly how that would have gone. There would have been a scene. There would have been a list of demands. But when I asked for basic respect, I was insecure. I went to bed before she came out of the bathroom. I did not start a fight. I did not scroll through her phone. I did not threaten anything dramatic. I just lay there and did math. The lease is in my name. Utilities are in my name. She transferred me her portion of rent every month, but there is no legal entanglement beyond shared furniture and her mail coming here. By midnight, I had already decided what I was going to do. Not because I was jealous. Because I refused to stay where I am openly ranked beneath another man and then mocked for noticing. The next morning I woke up at 5 like usual. She was still asleep. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and put in a request for a half-day off. Then I started pulling boxes out of the storage closet. I did not slam cabinets or move dramatically. I treated it like a quiet Saturday project. The first thing I packed was the easy stuff. Her shoes from the hallway rack. The extra makeup trays that had taken over half the bathroom counter. The stack of mail with her name on it that I had been meaning to hand her anyway. I labeled each box with a black marker so there would be no confusion later. Around 7, she walked into the kitchen in one of my old college shirts, saw the boxes, and frowned like I had rearranged furniture without asking. She asked what I was doing. I told her I was organizing. That was technically true. She poured coffee, scrolled through her phone, and said she might meet Ryan later because he was having a rough week. She said it casually, like we had not had a conversation 12 hours earlier about boundaries. That sealed it. I said okay, left it at that, and kept packing. By 9, the bedroom closet was half empty on her side. I folded her clothes properly. I did not throw anything. I kept everything clean because I did not want the narrative to become that I was unstable or dramatic. This was logistics, not revenge. She finally caught on when I unplugged her desk lamp and wrapped the cord. She asked if I was serious. I said yes. She laughed again, but this time it was thinner. She asked if I was really breaking up with her over insecurity. I told her I was ending it because I do not date people who dismiss my boundaries and then mock me for having them. She crossed her arms and said I was proving her point about not being boyfriend material. That mature men trust their partners. I told her mature partners do not test trust for entertainment. There was a pause then, a long one. For the first time since I had known her, she did not have a quick comeback ready. She asked where she was supposed to go. I reminded her that Ryan lives 10 minutes away. She looked at me like I had just suggested something outrageous. I was not joking. I told her I was not throwing her out on the street. I said she had options. Her parents live an hour away. She has 2 close friends in town. And yes, Ryan, who apparently is stable enough to be her emotional priority several nights a week. She said I was being dramatic and that couples fight. I agreed that couples do fight. But this was not a fight. This was a pattern. And the pattern was me expressing a boundary and her reframing it as a character flaw. She switched tactics. Her voice softened. She said I was overreacting and that she did not mean what she said. She claimed she was joking. I asked her to explain the joke. She could not. I told her I was not interested in negotiating a lower standard of respect. I also told her that since the lease is in my name, I was giving her until the end of the day to collect what she needed. I would help carry boxes to her car. I would not argue. But she would not be staying. She accused me of threatening her housing. I clarified that she had been here 4 months without being on the lease, and that I was not legally required to provide indefinite notice. Still, I was giving her the full day because I am not reckless. She paced the living room and said I was choosing pride over love. I told her this was not about pride. It was about alignment. If she genuinely believed I was not boyfriend material, then I was solving that problem for her. That hit. Around noon, she started pulling clothes from the closet and stuffing them into a suitcase, less carefully than I had packed the boxes. She kept making small comments under her breath about how she could not believe I was this fragile. I did not respond. I taped the final box shut and stacked it by the door. By 3 in the afternoon, her car was loaded. When she stood in the doorway, she expected me to stop her. I did not. I stepped aside and held the door open. She stood there for a few seconds like the scene was not matching the script in her head. Usually when she pushed, I pushed back. That was our rhythm. A sharp comment from her, a defensive explanation from me, then a circular debate that ended with me apologizing for being too sensitive. This time there was no debate, just logistics. She asked if that was it. I said yes. She said I was really going to let a year in like this. I corrected her. I said it ended when she decided my discomfort was entertainment. That annoyed her more than yelling would have. She said Ryan never tried to control her. I told her that if spending repeated late nights drinking alone with an ex while living with your partner requires no adjustment, then we have fundamentally different definitions of control and respect. She shook her head and said I was insecure. I told her I might be, but insecurity is not cured by humiliation. She tried one more angle. She asked if we could just take a few days to cool off. I told her no. Cooling off implies confusion. I am not confused. She loaded the last box into her trunk and slammed it harder than necessary. I stayed on the sidewalk, hands in my pockets. Not blocking her, not chasing her. Before getting into the car, she said I would regret this. She said most women would not put up with jealousy like mine. I told her I am not looking for most women. I am looking for one who does not compare me to her ex in my own kitchen. That was the last thing I said. She drove off without another word. I went back upstairs, locked the door, and changed the Wi-Fi password first. Then I changed the streaming logins. Not out of spite, out of clarity. After that, I sat on the couch in a much quieter apartment. I expected to feel something dramatic. Anger, sadness, panic. Mostly I felt relief. She texted me about 20 minutes after she left. It started predictable. Are you serious right now? Then it escalated into paragraphs about how I blindsided her, how normal couples work through things, how I was acting cold and transactional. She said I embarrassed her by suggesting she stay with Ryan. I read everything once. I did not respond. An hour later, she tried calling. I let it ring. Then another call. Then a voicemail notification. I listened to it because I wanted to be sure there was nothing logistical I needed to handle. It was not logistical. It was her crying, but not in a broken way. In an irritated way. She said I was punishing her for having friends. She said I would calm down and realize I overreacted. That was the moment I understood she still believed this was temporary. I am not interested in being someone's lesson that they assume will reverse itself. I sent one final text. I kept it short. I said I do not want further contact. Please arrange pickup of any remaining small items through email only. Then I blocked her number. Not dramatically, not with a speech. Just block. I blocked her on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. I removed her from the shared photo album. I logged out of her devices from my streaming accounts. I did not post anything vague or emotional. Within 10 minutes, she tried calling from a different number. I blocked that too. People will probably ask why I did not keep communication open to be mature. The answer is simple. Every previous disagreement turned into a performance where she tried to win. I am not participating in another round. Blocking her was not about anger. It was about containment. I know how she operates. If she senses a crack, she pushes until it becomes a door. There is no door. By evening, the apartment felt different. Not empty, just stable. And then around 9, someone knocked on my door. I was not expecting anyone. When I opened the door, Ryan was standing there. He looked exactly how I expected. Casual hoodie, hands in his pockets, expression somewhere between concerned and self-satisfied. He introduced himself like we had not been orbiting each other for a year through stories and comparisons. He said Maya was at his place, and she was upset. He said she told him I overreacted and kicked her out over nothing. I told him I did not discuss my relationship with third parties. He smiled in a way that suggested he thought he had leverage. He said he just wanted to make sure everything was cool and that there was no misunderstanding. He said they had always stayed close and that it was never meant to threaten me. That wording was interesting. Never meant to threaten. I told him whether it threatened me was irrelevant. What mattered was that it crossed a boundary I clearly communicated. He shrugged and said some guys just cannot handle their girlfriend having a past. At that point it was obvious this was not a peace visit. This was a temperature check. He wanted to see if I would fold, apologize, or ask for details. I did none of that. I said she is no longer my girlfriend. I also said I expect no further visits to my home. If she needs anything, she can email me. Not you. He asked if I was really willing to throw away a year over jealousy. I said I am willing to end a relationship where my discomfort is mocked and then defended by the man causing it. That landed. He looked less amused after that. I kept the door partially closed the entire time. I did not invite him in. I did not raise my voice. I did not debate. When the conversation stopped moving forward, I ended it. I told him this is not your problem to solve. Good night. Then I shut the door and locked it. 5 minutes later, my email notification went off. The email was from Maya. Subject line was one word. Seriously. The message itself was longer than any text she had sent that day. She said I embarrassed her in front of Ryan by refusing to talk to him. She said he was only trying to help and that I made things awkward. She repeated that I overreacted and that normal adults do not pack someone up overnight without discussion. I read it carefully because email feels more deliberate than text. There was no apology in it. There was no acknowledgement of the specific comment she made. Nothing about telling me I was not boyfriend material. Nothing about laughing when I said I was uncomfortable. The entire tone was focused on how my reaction affected her. She said she did not even know if she wanted to be with someone so rigid. That I seemed cold and calculating. That relationships require flexibility. I agreed with one thing. Relationships require flexibility, but not flexibility around basic respect. I replied once. I told her I am not interested in rehashing the same boundary. I said I communicated clearly that consistent one-on-one late night drinking with your ex made me uncomfortable. I said you dismissed that concern and framed it as a flaw in my character. That is not compatibility. That is contempt. I also clarified something important. I did not throw her out impulsively. I ended the relationship and asked her to move out of an apartment that is legally mine. There is a difference. I told her I will coordinate a time this week for her to pick up the last 2 small items she left behind. After that, no further contact. I kept it structured. No insults. No sarcasm. She responded within minutes saying I was twisting things and that I was insecure long before this. I did not answer. Instead, I archived the thread. Then I set a filter so her emails go straight to a folder I do not see unless I choose to. I am not going to debate my own standards with someone who treats them like a personality defect. But the part that bothered me was not her email. It was what my friend told me the next morning. The next morning, I went to the gym like usual. Routine keeps me steady. While I was finishing a set, my friend Caleb walked over with a look that was somewhere between awkward and curious. He asked if Maya and I were good. I told him we broke up. He nodded slowly and said that made sense. Then he hesitated. I asked what he meant. He said he ran into Maya and Ryan at a bar a couple of weeks ago. Not the usual neighborhood place. A different one across town. He assumed I knew. He said they did not look like two people just catching up. He said they were sitting close, her hand on his arm, laughing in a way that felt intimate. He emphasized that he did not see anything explicit, but he also said if he did not know the backstory, he would have assumed they were together. That did not shock me. It clarified things. What bothered me was not potential cheating. It was the narrative she had built. She made it seem like I was inventing tension, like my discomfort was hypothetical. Meanwhile, she was recreating a dynamic that looked exactly like dating. I thank Caleb for telling me. I did not get angry. I did not storm out of the gym. I finished my workout. On the drive home, I thought about the timeline, the increased frequency of their hangouts, the comparisons, the way she would light up when his name came up, but act bored when I talked about my day. It all aligned. Back at the apartment, I checked the filtered email folder. There were 3 more messages from her. The tone had shifted. Less accusation. More probing. She asked if I was really done. She said maybe we both handled it poorly. She suggested meeting in person to talk like adults. I did not respond. Instead, I boxed the last 2 small items she left. A hair dryer and a framed photo of us from last summer. I set a pickup time for Saturday afternoon in a single-sentence email. No discussion. No meeting. No nostalgia. And that was when she tried one final move. Saturday came fast. She emailed that morning asking if we could talk when she picked up her things. I replied with one line. Pickup is at 2. I will leave the box outside the door. At 1:55, I placed the box in the hallway outside my apartment and locked the door. I was not interested in a doorway negotiation or a hallway performance. At 2:03, she texted from a new number saying she was there. I did not respond. A minute later, I heard her footsteps outside. Then a knock. Not aggressive. Controlled. She called my name through the door and said we should at least end this properly. She said I was being cold and that after everything we shared, she deserved a face-to-face conversation. I stayed quiet. Then she tried a different tone. Softer. She said she might have handled the jealousy comment badly. That she did not mean it the way it sounded. That she was just frustrated. That was the closest thing to accountability I had heard all week. And it only showed up once she realized I was not folding. I opened the door just enough to stand in the frame without inviting her in. She looked different. Less confident. Less amused. She said she did not think I would actually go through with it. She said she thought I would cool off and apologize like usual. That confirmed everything. I told her calmly that the moment she laughed and questioned whether I was boyfriend material, she showed me how she evaluates partners. I said I am not interested in competing with an ex or being tested for reactions. She said Ryan was just familiar. That it did not mean anything. I told her familiarity is fine. Disrespect is not. She asked if there was really no chance. I said no. Not because I hate her. Not because I am trying to win. But because once I see contempt, I do not try to negotiate it down to tolerance. She picked up the box. No hug. No dramatic goodbye. Just a long look like she was recalculating. Then she walked away. I locked the door for the last time and deleted her contact entirely. It has been 3 weeks. No texts. No visits. No drama. And for the first time in months, my apartment feels like it belongs to me instead of feeling like a stage where I am being evaluated. If that makes me not boyfriend material, I am fine with that.